Hi, welcome to Conversion Conversations. This is Cameron, and today I have Blaine. Oh, I should have asked you before we started. Bublitz?
Bublitz, yeah.
Oh, okay, I nailed it. Okay. Blaine Bublitz today, who got a top four finish at Gencon 2019 in the Energon qualifier, running Insecticons. And I want to sit down and kind of pick your brain a little bit. I know you posted the deck list on Facebook, and there was some discussion there. So I think as we were talking on Facebook a little bit, you had some things that you wanted to talk about on the deck list also. Before we actually get there, I wanted to ask, since Gen Con is kind of the middle of the qualifier season, going into Gen Con, were you already qualified for the Energon Invitational, or was this kind of your big opportunity to do so?
So this was actually my big opportunity. I was out of the country for like 3 months, and so I missed Origins, and I actually don't think I missed any qualifiers here in Arizona, but I just figured like there's so many spots up for grabs at Gen Con that like that's my shot.
Yeah, exactly. And I think your thinking is exactly right. Like Origins, I think was a unique situation because it was the first one. The meta was developed. There are only 16 slots, but there were also fewer players. But then, like when they expanded Gen Con to 32, it seemed like, oh, this is outside of, if you're dominating your local scene, it seemed like Gen Con was the big one. And were you, I guess, in terms of your Transformers TCG experience, you mentioned you were out of the country for a little while. I assume you were playing and practicing before then, or was it while you were out of the country was getting things ready for Gen Con?
So I played a little bit and I bought a little bit in set one.
Hmm.
And then right as set two was coming out is when I was like planning my travel and I was leaving. And so like I got back and set three had basically just landed. And so really a lot of my experience was set one. And then I
Hmm.
came in and I had to adapt to set two and set three. And I wasn't really paying attention while I was outside of the country. Like it was just very hard to keep up with time zones and
Yeah.
all my other stuff going on. So
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking, where were you at the time?
So I bounced around. I actually went to Vienna, Austria, Berlin, Germany, and Seoul, South Korea.
Oh, that's one. Was that work related or just some pleasure travel?
So it was originally planned as just some personal travel, and I was going to do some side work on the while I was traveling. But I did get a job while I was on the road, so
Oh, nice.
I did work. I did work while I was there,
Oh, so I'm sure
which
that
was
was,
fun.
like you said, that kept you busy and you didn't have a ton of time to focus on the game. When you mentioned that you had played Wave One, I've been asking every player this since the game's so new. It's a little more than a year old. When did you kind of hop in? Like for me, it wasn't till really December-ish at PAX Unplugged last year. Were you in earlier, or was it a little while later?
Yeah. So actually, I went to Seattle last year sometime. It was probably around September. I had gone for a concert, and I used to play a different game. I won't shout it out here with Matt Smith, one of the game designers, right? And he's like, "Hey, I made this game, or I'm working on this game," and so we hung out, and he showed me like we played some games, and I really, really, really liked the engine. So
Oh, that's awesome. That's sweet. So was it? I guess the game mechanics drew you in as a TCG player more than the IP, or did you have any attachment to the IP beforehand?
um, I I had a little attachment. Like growing up, my uncle had a lot of Transformer stuff. I never really did. I'm a little outside of that age range.
Were you more?
But
Would it have been more like Beast Wars for
yeah,
you? Yeah. Okay. So same here. That's the one I grew up with.
yeah. So Beast Wars was definitely my thing. Like when I was really little, it was like Power Rangers, right? Like that
Yep.
was the thing.
Yep.
So it's not like I'm against the IP. I like it, and I wouldn't play the game like even a good engine. I probably won't play unless I have a little bit of attachment to the IP. Um, but the engine is really what drew me in.
What I guess when Matt Smith was demonstrating, which he was at Gen Con, it was awesome to meet him. That was the first time I got to meet him. But when he was demoing it, was there any particular mechanic that drew you in? Was it something about the pacing or something else?
Yeah, the fast-paced games, the goal that they want to get games over in what I think it's like 10 minutes or 12 minutes or something. Like as long as you're not blue versus blue.
Yeah, that
Um,
the aerial bot mirror match that I think happened like 4 times at Gen Con, and there were only, I think, 3 or 4 aerial bot players. Poor guys.
that is pretty horrible. The aerial bots games even go long when you're aggro against them. So
Mhm.
yeah, that I mean the speed in which it went is really attractive to me. I really like the characters being on the board. Having a lot of that information up front allows you to know how to play and things like that. I used to play way back in the day, and actually the reboot as well, the Dragon Ball Z TCG, where your characters and some of your stuff starts in play, and so you really get to know what your um, kind of what your opponent's doing, like what their game plan is before the game even starts.
Gotcha. And actually, diving into your, like, you mentioned there was another game you played with Matt Smith, and then Dragon Ball Z. What's been your experience in TCGs in general? I mean, I think almost everyone I've talked to has experienced Magic at some point or another, just because that is so ubiquitous. But outside of that, what else have you touched on before coming to Transformers? Is there anything you're currently playing now?
So I actually play like every obscure TCG that ever is created. Like I played Dot Hack, Mega Man Battle Network.
Oh, I didn't even know
Um,
that was a TCG.
yeah, it was by Decipher. So Dot Hack and that were made by Decipher. Um, I played Raw Deal for a long time. I actually have some like posts on their like if you find their archive, there's some posts by me on their main website. Dragon Ball Z, um, so many other games. I like I said, pretty much every obscure TCG I'll play. I even have like a full set of Full Metal Alchemist TCG still.
Oh wow. For me, the only obscure ones, and I don't even know if they were obscure. Just at the time, it was like, oh, that's a card game, and no one else played it. I really liked, like I played Magic for a little while. I got super into for a while. I think it was called Gundam Wars, or maybe it was Mobile Suit Gundam.
Yes, Gundam. I remember that card game.
Yeah, where it was like I think it was based off Gundam Wing, and it had like this interesting mechanic between like you could have guys in sort of a dry dock like holding area and then deploy them to a battlefield, and like I don't know if like 8-year-old Cameron understood it, but the idea was really interesting. And then there was a Harry Potter trading card game that came out, that like I just latched on to the art of it because it was the drawn art of the old book covers versus like now if it comes out I'm sure it's like all the movie characters or something. But those were like me for me, it's kind of the opposite case as you where I started out deep into Transformers. A trading card came out. I was actually really terrified that this was going to be a terrible game. Like before we knew anything about it, I thought, oh crap, they're gonna put something dumb out there, put Transformers on it, and that'll be that. But like you said, it's like the IP is great, but the mechanics are really solid. If I was talking with someone else about this, I think even if it was something like where it was monsters, where like you could flip between a human form and a werewolf, or a human and a vampire or something, like there might be enough in the game that I'd still want to play it. So you mentioned like you like the aggro style. Is that what drew you to Insecticons in particular, or were you experimenting with other aggro decks before you came into Gen Con as you were kind of adjusting to Wave 3?
So, so it's actually a pretty funny story. In Wave 1, I actually was playing Optimus, Battlefield Legend, Inferno, because I couldn't afford or didn't want to buy a Nemesis.
Gotcha.
And I was playing them pure blue. And I was like, as people were like learning the game, I was like winning pretty much every match. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll put a force field on this guy, and I'm like, okay, I'll flip Inferno to bounce your force field and then
Yeah.
swing in for 20.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, Inferno's not a bad poor man's nemesis, right? Because in that Wave 1 double lineup, you didn't care so much about Nemesis's ability. It was just the big stats that you wanted. You were really playing off Battlefield Legends abilities. That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out pretty well, and I had a lot of fun with that deck. And when I came back, I tried a two wide blue, and everybody laughed at me. It didn't work. And so I had gotten another collection from my friend who not super. So I picked up his collection, and together we had almost all the Insecticons except for Scrapnel. And so my first week at the going back to the tournament and trying to play that two wide, I won. I think I maybe won a pack or something, or maybe I bought a couple packs, and I cracked some set one packs, and I pulled Scrapnel.
Oh,
And
nice.
I was like, well, I guess I have and I have 3 swarms. I'll play that deck.
Yeah, that's
Um,
not right. That's not bad there, and that's what I had noticed in your playlist, and I think you mentioned it, or your deck list, and I think you mentioned it on Facebook, is that the reason you're running two piece through tyrannies is because that's what you had, right? You made the best with the resources you had available.
yeah.
But
I just pulled one this last Friday.
oh,
So I
nice.
got my third piece of tyranny.
So what looking at your deck list, which I'll put in the video link, what do you drop now that you've got your third piece through tyranny? Is it a flamethrower? Just get rid of drop a bold 2 for a piece through tyranny, or is it one of the bashing
So
shields?
I've actually been reworking the deck a little bit. Flamethrowers were an addition that I made at Gencon because I wasn't playing them originally. I was playing some other really weird stuff in the qualifier, or I think they're called the qualifiers.
The
right?
preliminary qualifier,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's weird
I
because
was
those
playing-
were the qualifiers. Now that it opened up to 32, like the qualifier wasn't really the qualifier anymore.
Yeah. So people were doing things like counting my I still functions, and there was only 2 in the deck. And there was no flamethrowers and all of this stuff. And I'm like, I was kind of still learning what pieces were working and what weren't. I had a Decepticon crown in the version I played on Thursday.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I have seen that before. That is interesting.
It didn't work as well as I thought.
Yeah, I kind of do.
But yeah, I gave it a shot. It was an extra white, which actually makes a big difference in this deck. When I cut it down to 3 whites, it functioned a little worse. But so I've been reworking, and I saw somebody made a comment on Facebook about why I didn't have treasure hunts, and I honestly didn't even think about treasure hunt. Sometimes I just forget cards.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you're running, right, you're running almost a third of your deck size as weapons. So, like, treasure hunt, with this current, like, what got you to your top 4, with this current list, treasure hunt may not have been super helpful because odds are you're pulling a weapon every couple turns anyway.
Yeah. But, I mean, incoming transmission didn't do a ton, and work overtime also didn't do a ton. Often I would play the upgrade from my hand and then work overtime to draw 2, which isn't very good. The reason for the 3 work overtimes is because I tested a lot against
Shockwave.
Not Shockwave, yeah. And if you top deck a work overtime, you win the game.
Yeah.
So I've been adjusting it. I took out the incoming transmissions for the treasure hunts to see how those work, which then means I get to open up my white slots. And then I switched 1 flamethrower for a new white card and 1 flamethrower for the Piece Through Tyranny. I think that's the current list that I'm testing.
Gotcha. Nice. Have you thought? I mean, since you're running Barrage, Scrapnel, Chop Shop, Kickback, is Ransack the one? Oh no, if I remember right, Ransack's not in your sideboard. You have Optimus Prime in your sideboard. Is it General Optimus in your sideboard?
It's General Optimus. I absolutely hate Ransack. I don't think that he is a good card at all. Like when you're in the aggro matchup, like aggro versus aggro, I guess even aggro versus like a mid-rangey, like maybe a balanced deck, dealing damage to your own characters is terrible. Like, I don't even like to play the Reckless Charge in the deck. It's only there for like very specific circumstances.
Yeah, I noticed you're
And
not playing the one shall stand, which I almost always see on Insecticons, I think.
yeah, and if you're not playing Ransack, I don't know why you would play that, right? Because why would you deal like the damage output that insects bring to the table? Like, doesn't need to really be pumped. If I were gonna run some extra damage, it would be Zap. I would have to try to find a place to put Zap, but it would probably be Zap. You just don't want, like, all the Insecticons that I run are all out of the sweet spot range. So, like, the worst one is Kickback, right? He has 10 effective health.
Yeah.
But Chop Shop, before you flip him, has 11 effective health.
Yep.
Barrage is at 13 or 12, depending on what mode he's in.
Yeah, Barrage is beefy.
And survives forever.
How did you find, I guess, in terms of your layout, and like you mentioned, you kind of adjusted the deck throughout the tournament. Were players adjusting to seeing Insecticons, or did you? I forget. You qualified Friday morning or Thursday morning?
So I qualified Thursday morning.
That's it.
Yeah. I game my second match. I won every other match until the last round, which Mark Kinney and I drew.
Right, to lock your positions in. And then did you play at all Friday, or was Friday kind of a day off?
Friday was a day off from Transformers. I played in a different, a much smaller tournament. It was a 16-player tournament for another game I play, and I went and won that tournament as well. So.
Oh, is that what the when you did your deck tech video with Stefan? Was that the playmat?
I didn't do a deck tech with Stefan, but I do have a championship playmat that I used when I took my pictures.
Oh, that's it. The pictures from Facebook. That was that playmat. Okay, gotcha. Oh, well, so that timing worked out perfectly then.
It worked out perfectly because I won. If I didn't get top 8 on Thursday, it would have been really painful because 4:30 on Friday, so I would have had to drop in the finals to go play in the Transformers tournament on Friday if I wouldn't have gotten my invite.
Gotcha. But that's cool. So now that you've qualified, you mentioned you're in Arizona. What's the scene like there in terms of player quantity and localities?
We have a decent amount of players. So last Friday we got an 11-player tournament firing alongside of a Friday Night Magic at the store, which was pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
And then we also have, I would say we probably have like 16 players that kind of jump in or jump out, depending on whether it's like a competitive tournament or event or whether it's casual. But it's a great group of people. Our Facebook group is fairly active. And there's some players in Tucson, Arizona. And I think they're going to try to run an Energon qualifier, though I don't know when that date would be, or I haven't really heard anything about that since the first mention of it. So we'll see. But it's cool. And the game is growing here. So.
Oh, that's exciting. So with you having qualified, and we've got what, 3 months until 3.5 months until PAX Unplugged, and about 3 months until Siege 2 comes out. What are your plans as a Transformers player? Are you experimenting with other stuff? Are you kind of focusing on other games now that you've got your invitation? What are you planning on doing?
So this is pretty much my main game right now. And just like Sunday, a friend and I, we played for like 9 hours just grinding different matchups.
Mm-hmm.
He still has to get his invite, so we're trying to figure out what to bring to the qualifier events when they happen here.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, nice. So you'll definitely be keyed in on the meta then, trying to work that out.
I created a document that has like some decks I think are very powerful and what decks they're good against and what decks they're bad against, or maybe have an even matchup against. So I'm tracking that right now. I'm not really super experienced being able to like use and decide on what decks are going to be good just based on previews. So they're going to like feed us previews for the next 2 months or something.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be slow. I know, like they'll trickle out some characters, and then I think in September they'll ramp up, and we should know everything by November. Is I think what the plan is.
The new keyword makes things really awkward. Like if it's on every character, then I'm a little scared to go too heavy on aggro. Just having that built-in force field esque effect on the first hit is pretty scary if you're playing an aggro deck.
Yeah, well then I wonder if that's where you start, right? Like you mentioned, right? Find room for the zaps because you, right? You zap someone and then you sand ransack in, and all of a sudden you don't care about. I actually forget what the name is. Steadfast, Sureguard, or Safeguard? Safeguard?
Sounds right.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if that sort of play will encourage more of the direct damage type effects, which I'm trying to remember. I don't think any of the bombshell. I think there's a version of bombshell that does direct damage. Or no, I don't think he actually does damage. He can just insta KO a character by discarding the right number of cards.
Yeah, I want to make his discard effect work, but it's so hard.
Yeah, who was powered by Primus? I think Jamie Madison. He did a couple videos, but his meta is very interesting, and from my perspective, it's very unique compared to everywhere else I've seen. They're like super blue, so Bombshell has the time to like get the discard effect working.
That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So like against like aerial bots, the aerial bots up until wave 3. Now they're probably pushing more damage in with Pierce effects, but against the aerial bots, like Bombshell was able to, the team was able to just sit back, just build the hand up, and then Superion combined, and then he's dropped his 39 cards or whatever it was.
That's too good. That's too good.
Yeah. Has there been, besides the Insecticons, has there been another team or another character or card that's really like kind of excited you?
Um, like I said at the very beginning, Battlefield Legend was the thing that I was like, oh wow, this is insane, and it's still super powerful. I'm trying to build decks that don't just lean on how powerful he is right now.
Mm-hmm.
It feels you can choose so many wins with him that you're just like, I want kind of I'm a deck builder, right? So I want a challenge. I don't want to just cheese wins, and you wouldn't know it by my Insecticons, which feels like it just cheeses wins. But General Optimus Prime, he is so powerful right now. I love him for 11 stars.
Yeah, that's what I qualified with. I was running General Optimus, Wheeljack, and Dragstrip, and I was super happy with that build. The rest of the Vector Sigma guys did like a different version of that deck. But I'd be curious. I haven't seen the final top 32 breakdown, but I think General Optimus might have been like the one character that was most represented in top 32. It was a lot of fun to play that deck.
Yeah, we've been experimenting with some decks with him involved as well. He's just very, very powerful. Uh, and if you also look at the other 11-star characters, everybody else is kind of very niche. And he's just a generalist, right? Which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of why I landed on him for my sideboard as well. Throwing him in alongside a Barrage and Scrapnel is very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, that I mean, you've already got like right. I didn't look super close at your sideboard. I don't remember. Did you splash a little blue in there with his tough one ability and the focus, or did you leave it mostly orange and rely on their stats and Scrapnel's ability?
So my sideboard was, and I adjusted it a little bit. I actually had 3 Scoundrel Blasters in my sideboard.
Oh, that's right.
Mostly because I was really scared that like Chop Shop can't do any damage to like a pure blue Autobot deck. Well, a pure blue deck in general, and Scoundrels at least deals with the Autobots. Everybody else can hit big numbers. Well, times can hit big numbers. But Chop Shop really has a hard time. So I had the 3 blasters there. Also, I always forget this, but Swarm heals if you hit the Scoundrels blasters, if you hit the blues. So the rest of my sideboard was all healing. So I had 3 emergency maintenance and 3 repair bay.
How do you?
And I would.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I think you were going to ask about healing, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, how did you feel about it after the tournament?
Healing sideboard. The 3 emergency maintenance will catch people off guard in game 2. Like if you win game 1 and they focus fire down, if you throw an emergency maintenance around, or even like the repair bay or any of the healing effects, like you can really screw up some of their because they're like, oh, I'll stick 3 damage into Scrapnel, and then you're like, okay, well, I'll heal 1. Just while I was playtesting this weekend, a repair bay in hand, and I had a upgrade on Chop Shop. And so I played the repair bay to heal 1 from everybody, and then I flipped Chop Shop, scrapping the upgrade, healing another one to bring Scrapnel down to only 2 damage on him.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
2
so
more hits.
yeah, getting that's a very good point. Like, I didn't think about that. You don't have to heal a bunch of damage off Scrapnel. You just have to force your opponent to take an extra attack into Scrapnel, and that's worth a lot in the game.
It's a very powerful thing when you can do that. Sometimes I even just attack in with kickback, not in bot mode, ping for like 1 or 2 damage, and then heal Scrapnel another heal, which it feels really good when they're like, wow, he just went from 4 damage down to like 1. I guess I got to send 2 more attacks into him.
Yep.
The healing sideboard, yeah, it's really cool. And the reason that I built it was because I thought that my worst matchup would have been 3 blue Battlefield Legend, of how much direct damage it can deal. And so by putting in repair bay and emergency maintenance, I figured, well, I can heal if they try to put my Scrapnel within the right ranges. And emergency maintenance probably would have won me one of the games against Kevin Allen. Except I saw a green early on and I swapped it for it. I had it in my opening hand and I was like, well, I don't need this right now. And so I swapped the emergency maintenance for I forget if it was a bashing shield or an enforcement batons, but I swapped it, and like if I could heal 3 right now, I would win.
Right. Yeah, it's tough how that goes sometimes. So what about the cornered? I'm curious about where your thoughts are on the cases you wanted to put that card in your deck.
So it's just aerial bots.
Gotcha. Forcing them to take extra turns to combine.
This deck wins against aerial bots if I go first, and it loses against aerial bots if I go second. And with a cornered in the deck, you usually can dig for it because you're so bold.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you that turn that they gain by going first, right? So if they go first, they're going to be... You get 1 less attack in before they flip 1, so they'll combine before you kill them. Cornered, if you see it early enough, you can just use it, flip 1, that gives you that turn back, and then you can kill them. Like, they'll eventually get combined, but he'll only have like 5 health left, and then you'll like, I still function and swing in with kickback or barrage and win the game.
Right, something where that his natural tough, and if he's got an armor on him, it doesn't matter because his health is so low.
3 bashing shields, so...
Yeah. Odds are the armor's not going to be there.
3 bashing shields in this deck, so...
No, I dig it. And again, congratulations on your top 4 finish. I'm trying to think if I had any other questions on the deck in particular. I don't think so. I think we've talked about that pretty extensively. Going into... I've asked everyone this. You're qualified for the Energon Invitational. Have you been to... You mentioned already that you live in Arizona. Have you been to PAX Unplugged before?
Have not, no.
It's a really fun event. I think this will be the third year they do it. And what I like about it is that it's a little smaller just in terms of total population than Gen. Actually, I should take that back. It's a lot smaller than Gen Con. Gen Con, I think they hit like 70,000 people this year. And PAX Unplugged, I think, is closer to 20, which for me, it's more manageable. There's a little less claustrophobia with the crowd. Um, but going into the Energon Invitational, knock on wood, you do great, you win it. What character do you make as your first place prize?
That's a tough one. Um,
And as far as I know, they haven't given us any other rules about the first place prize besides it has to be a character card. I don't think we get to make a battle card.
so I really want a good, because I know there's a good one. It's just super rare. Starscream, right? The king or whatever.
Yep.
Good card, right? But I want like a good one at like common
Uncommon.
or uncommon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want like because there's the one that has Bold 2 on his bot mode, but he's 11 stars, and Bold 2 on 11 stars is pretty depressing.
Yep.
Barrage
Agreed.
is too bold for 7, right?
Yeah.
So I want a good one of him.
Yeah, a good cheaper Starscream would be great because like I love the idea of being able to run a good Seekers like deck, but right now it feels like each of the Seekers they're the best characters you can't fit them together because they're too pricey, and then when you get them in a deck that like can kind of fit them together, the effects just aren't there. So I like that idea.
Yeah. So I don't know why I don't remember exactly why. I can't trace it back to a memory, but he's one of my favorites. I forget if he in Beast Wars as a beast or something.
He okay, so I can let my nerd cred shine. He was in Beast Wars. He do you remember Waspinator?
Kind of, yes.
Yeah, so he Starscream it was in season 2, I believe, where they revealed that Beast Wars was like actually a direct sequel to the original Transformer series. Starscream died in the movie. He was killed by Unicron. Somehow his soul or spark got sent back in time and he possessed Waspinator for an episode. So that's where like kind of the ghost Starscream and stuff and his like the immortal Starscream comes from. He was in the series. It was Waspinator, but it was possessed by Starscream.
Maybe I'm like remembering back to that episode.
Yeah.
But I like Starscream. The other thing that I would just want, and I don't know enough about Insecticons, but I want to be able to make a good control Insecticon deck. So whatever Insecticon it would be, I would just want to make something so that the stars can be kind of pieced together better,
Hmm.
in a blue control Insecticon style.
Yeah,
Like
right.
I think Swarm is so good, and the Brave Scrapnel, he's what is he, 9? He's 9, I think,
Hmm.
which makes everything so awkward.
Hmm.
Um, he's great in a blue deck. Just his effects are so controlling. They work in the aggro deck as well, but he would work well. And then like the set 2 Insecticon. Or,
Venom.
yeah, Venom. Forget how many stars he is, but basically great together, especially because I would always want to run the 7-star Scrapnel
Yep.
for a control deck. So that's what I would want. Is I would want to make a Insecticon probably that kind of pieces together, fits with that theme. So you could maybe do a good 3-wide. Asking too much from Insecticons, but being able to put that together is something that I want to do. I'm gonna probably be working on it like before the Invitational, just because I want it to exist. But I don't think that the characters are there.
Yeah, well, I know there is a player, and you mentioned you weren't at Origins, so you didn't get to meet him. Sam Cahill, Cahill. He's on the Facebook group and stuff. he lives in Colorado with the Powered by Primus guys. He is an evangelical in regards to blue Insecticons. He is always looking for converters. So if you're curious about kind of how other people have tried to make blue Insecticons work, you should definitely hook up with him. Like, I know he's always preaching blue Insecticons, which is it was a lot of fun. I played against him once, and it a lot of, I think, the strength of blue bugs right now comes from a bit of the novelty. Like, it's that game one, you're just like, I was scratching my head like, okay, what do I actually want to kill? Like, I don't want to kill Barrage, I think. I don't want to kill Scrapnel just yet. Like, trying to figure out like your target sequencing and stuff against blue bugs for me was a big challenge. And it seems like a fun deck list to play.
Definitely check that out. Yeah, it's something that I really do want to figure out, because it just seems so cool, and the is just so powerful on either flip side, right? It's probably the best heal in the game.
Mm-hmm.
If you get to flip four, cards, and you hit like 5 blues, you're healing, and you get to spread it up, heal 5 individual damage.
Yeah,
that can heal Scrapnel from almost dead to not dead at all.
Yep.
Throw a bravery on him, and good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you get, and that makes sense why they did the 9-star Scrapnel the way they did, I think, because I think the Brave and then some sort of Scrapnel ability would have been too much. But yeah, I agree. The deck that you were talking earlier about, the designers have a certain way they want us to play the game. Blue Bugs does not play the game that way. I'm pretty sure all of Sam's games went to time.
Oh man.
Yeah, but it was fun to see in action.
I don't know. I'm really enjoying the deck building aspects of this game. I know there was some lively discussion on the Facebook group about whether you should be able to include Decepticons and Autobots, or any sorts of like more than one leader or 2 Optimists or whatever. But like, that is giving like me or anyone like me that the ability to really capabilities, right? Like, on Friday night I played what's his name? Ironhide, Trigger Happy, and Autobot Hot Rod, the Sentinel one.
Mm-hmm.
Super fun deck, right? Like, and I found out that it doesn't work as great as it probably could, or as other decks do.
I'm trying to think through that. So you're probably, were you playing blue and trying to fish weapons to put on your guys, and then Ironhide's ability lets you swap to a damaging weapon? Was that the general idea?
So it was just bounce or keep cycling to armed hovercrafts, until you needed just a Energon Axe to finish them off, right?
Oh, nice.
It's like, I'll put 2 damage spread or 3 damage spread on all your guys, and now next time he swings in, I will swap it for an Energon Axe, and then I will kill you. I won all but one of my games, and I probably could win that game. Stay Grimlock, heavy bold Grimlock deck. So I was taking big damage, and I didn't realize that I could flip Ironhide back to his ult mode and choose him for the damage, and then it just disappears.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
the overkill damage.
Yep.
I didn't know how to play that match, but if I played it again, I think it might go a different way.
I wonder if that were you someone who was asking about that on the Facebook group, or was that maybe that was someone else who ran into the same thing?
Somebody posted a list, and I commented that I was also working on it, and then somebody came in and didn't understand that interaction, or I think it was the person that wrote the article didn't know that interaction, and so after my match, I got the ruling like at our locals from the judge, and then I went and looked up the actual rules in the document, and it seems that it would work because you get to choose where it's going.
Yep.
If your opponent got to choose, then obviously they wouldn't choose that guy. But
Yep.
so I think I could have played that game differently, and that it's really fun. And it's only 24 stars, so I get an extra. And I think EMP Wave is very good right now.
Oh yeah, especially if you time it out right on a wheel turn or something if they're wider than you.
If all I have left to attack with is Trigger Happy or Autobot Hot Rod, like my action for the turn and make sure that you only get one attack next turn.
Yep.
I think a lot of people are going to pick up cars as well, like 3-wide or 4-wide cars. Oh, that's actually something that I wanted to talk about in relation to the tournament and my deck. So the reason why Bugs was so good, and the reason why I think Kevin won the tournament, is because my Bugs specifically, Ionizer decks.
Yep.
Like, other than my game 2 of the tournament, which he went first, and he got exactly 10 damage on my Scrapnel turn 1 without any pumps.
From Lionizer swinging?
From Lionizer swinging.
Oh boy.
Lost that game. So I lost that round, but then I learned that you just punch into Lionizer as hard as you can, kill it, and then they'll kill one of you on the swing back.
But then you can kill whoever's rolling with Lionizer, probably.
I also main deck 3 Enforcement Batons. So by this point, I've seen one by flipping, I think, 10 or 12 cards, and I've seen one, and I just pick it up, and then I can scrap their weapon. They likely don't have their Quartermaster at this point, and I'm like 3-2, and then I'll still function at some point and be up an extra character. So I've only lost to one Lionizer deck with this deck ever.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I think the players who rose to the top 32, I don't remember how many Lionizers were in the top 32. I think it was less than 5 though. But the players that I think got to top 32 were ones that beat out Lionizer. Everyone I think going into Gen Con was very hyped on Lionizer, and then I think they saw that unless you were really playing with Lionizer very smartly, the weaponizers I think are strong, but they can also be played around pretty successfully with some proper play.
They're very powerful, but I think because it has to go in an aggro shell, or I should say, I don't know if it has to, but because it has been going in an aggro shell, it's just easier to deal with, right? Because you're gonna kill it. You don't have to do any math. It's different than Aimless, who can actually survive forever.
Yeah, I think actually that's Aimless's problem. Yeah, I think that's one of Aimless's problems is he lives too long to get value out of his weapon mode.
I'll pose this to you. What if you used Aimless as a character and actually don't want him to die?
Yeah, so I was thinking about that. I was modifying a Optimus Prime deck, a Battlefield Legend deck, where it's like, the standard is Flame War and Hot Rod to kind of take heat off Optimus and help everyone survive more. But it's like Aimless is hard to kill. If I swing with him first, I don't really care about that swing, and I'm just preventing my opponent from getting attacks into Optimus Prime. Like I don't think that's a bad use of Aimless. And when he eventually dies, he goes on Optimus.
So yeah, use him as a main, like a character that's not gonna die, that's gonna be around for a long time.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what people who played Aimless at Gen Con were thinking. From the play that I saw in the decks that I beat.
they were probably doing things like heroism or callous leadership or things like that, right?
Yep, yep.
To put more damage on him. But I've bit now, and it just feels like he has 3 attack and he lives forever. Like if you throw a
Energon axe on him after he
man,
gets a damage or something.
yeah, or the laser cutlass. It's so good, right? Plus
Yep.
1 3 pierce. So you just give him that, and he's slicing through for 3 every time, and they're so good that they'll be like, I have to kill him. And now he pumps up one of your big guys, and like they left him for so long. The fact that I can just kill Lionizer in one swing, it really is a detriment to him, I think.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I think out of what I saw at Gen Con, the weaponizer, or not weaponizer, I keep calling them weaponizers, the battle master that I thought got the most value, that I think some people were sleeping on, except maybe the Vector Sigma guys, was Fire Drive. Like, Fire Drives, okay, do the math. How much do I need to swing? I've got good card draw all game. Let me just scrap these cards and get a kill. I was impressed by the use of Fire Drive by the people that were using it. Although not that many people were using it until later on in the day, Friday, I think.
Yeah, kind of keeping it secret until a lot of the field dissipated, and then bring it in so that it's not a full surprise for. Still, a lot of people probably didn't hear about it. Like I didn't even hear about it, right?
Yeah. Oh, you mean like
I was
going in
learning a
on
lot of
Saturday?
learning a lot of my matchups on Saturday as I kind of went along.
Mhm.
Like the match against Kevin, I played completely wrong because I didn't know how to play against it.
Yep. Yeah, same here. When I played against Kevin, I mean, one, he played very well, but also I didn't help myself by not recognizing that when he went first in his first game with Cliff Jumper, that was my opportunity to win by trying to one-shot Cliff Jumper with Wheeljack. Instead, I played kind of my normal routine to my own detriment. But I think that's, for me as a new TCG player, like, it's a loss, but it also excites me because it's like, oh, I learned something here. Now I can try and apply that in future games.
Definitely. And I mean, that's what this high level of play, like Gen Con and like PAX Unplugged, is going to be. That's kind of what these games, right? This is why I do it.
Yep.
To get better, to learn, to bring something that maybe people wouldn't expect. I mean, but nobody expected this version, nor to get as far as it did, right? Like you said, no one shall stand, no ransack.
Mm-hmm.
Very different than what people expected.
Yep. Yeah.
I do really like Fire Drive, by the way. I before before we talked today, I built a Eerie Fire Drive deck that seems pretty cool.
Oh, sorry, you broke up for a second. What was the other character?
So I didn't say, but I will. I want to experiment with Chromia from set 1. And
Oh,
she
I don't
pulls
even.
back your card when you
Yeah.
flip her back to motorcycle.
Gotcha.
So you can get your quartermaster. Can
Ah.
always be alive, or your weapon version of Fire Drive can always be alive.
And Chromia's only, is she six stars? I don't remember.
She's 8.
She's a
Um,
big motorcycle.
or 11 too, but if you flip her, she's 0. So you almost never want her to be on the bot mode. You always want to, like, if you're gonna flip her, you probably want to do something to flip her back, like a rollout or an escape route.
Yep.
And then you can grab back your not tapped. You can flip her, leave her, and then flip her back before she attacks or something, right?
Gotcha.
There's stuff you can do, but you definitely, like, the idea is that you should be able to always grab the quartermaster when you need it, and since you're running Fire Drive, you want work overtimes, right? Could grab work overtime if Fire Drive is still on the field when it comes into your turn. Work overtime, play work overtime, draw
Yep.
4, discard 4.
Yep.
I think there's some interesting play there. I just theory crafted the deck. I don't actually own a Chromia, so.
Oh, really? I wonder if I've got a spare. I'll have to look. I definitely have more cards than I need. After this, I'll take a look and let you know.
Yeah. I bought a bunch when I came back, especially because I needed set 2 and set 3. But I would say that my collection is still rather lacking.
Well, it sounds like locally you might have some opportunity to play and win some packs and boxes. Hopefully, um, kick some butt, take some names, and build up that collection.
Yeah, I mean, I yes, but also like I like to experiment, right? I don't like to aggro like release. I don't want to bring bugs to my locals every week, right? I want to bring
Right. Fair enough.
like the Ironhide deck. So I won 3 games. No, 2 games this past week. So I got 2 packs.
Mhm.
2 out of 3. Probably better. I don't want to like. So we actually lost a player at our locals because they brought aerial bots, an unrefined aerial bots deck, and the week that I was testing my Insecticons, and a lot of other people were testing like Lionizer stuff, and so everybody just ran through his aerial bots because it was very
Oh,
unrefined.
yeah.
He went and sold his cards to the shop afterwards, and I'm like, oh,
Oh, oh, that's
yeah,
discouraging.
yeah. I don't want to. I don't like doing that.
Yeah.
So unless we're testing like very heavily for like a big event, like our first invitational is actually on Sunday this week. One of the stores locally is running it on Sunday, and so this Friday is probably going to be very competitive. Bring something like Insecticons just to give people run for their money so that they know what to test or what to day. But I don't like to do that every week.
Right, right. Makes sense. But yeah, best of luck. And again, congratulations on your top 4 finish. I'm excited to meet up again at PAX Unplugged. I guess before we go, do you have any last message or anything you want to give to the audience?
I mean, I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the top 4. They were awesome. They played awesome. I know it was super stressful on camera for me and everybody else. Great work, everybody. And you and all the content creators. Like I've been catching up. Like I'm so far behind on all the content creation from being out of the country, but it's really cool to be able to pull up a video at night after work and like just watch some Transformers stuff, see some ideas, or read a blog post, things like that. So shout out to all the content creators. I'm not a content creator. I do software development. So I do a lot of like deck building websites and stuff for other card games. But Transformers has their own app, so they don't need me.
Oh, that's not true. I think just because you have a day job doesn't mean you can't put dumb videos out there on YouTube. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade.
No, yeah, I could. I like to do the software part, right? So if there were some software things that needed to be done for this game, I would probably dive in and try to do that. I might create content in the future, but right now I'm just enjoying watching everybody. So thank you.
Oh, and thanks again for coming on, man. This was great.
It's really fun.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
And thanks everyone for listening in, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Have a great day, everyone.